sell them for their organs, sell them for sex, sell them for satanic ritual. It does sound crazy. That's why I film it. We film our operations so that we can show the world this is very real. It's really happening.
The man behind Operation Underground Railroad, Tim Ballard. We discussed the new film, The Sound of Freedom, telling of his real-life story. There is a widely expanding network of slavery making itself manifest worldwide, concentrating in no small part on very young children who are being sold to pedophilic psychopaths. This is now an operation that's rivaling the drug trade in magnitude. So it sounds like yet another right-wing conspiracy. So please, why don't you walk us through what you know and help me understand and everybody watching and listening exactly what you think is going on.
I spent 12 years as a special agent, undercover operator with the Department of Homeland Security, investigating these cases, child crimes, child trafficking. There's close to 6 million children or more who are forced into slavery, labor slavery, or organ harvesting. Absolutely is a real thing. The United States is the #1 consumer. So we have a serious problem, and it's not being addressed as it should be. Hopefully this film can do that.
What has been your experience with regard to so-called mainstream media coverage? How much attention has been paid to this? And if not much, why?
Not very much has been. Attention has been given by mainstream media. Oftentimes it's more innocent than cynical, perhaps, where it's just, this is too dark. I don't want to expose our audience to this horrific thing. There's 2 million children forced into commercial sex. A lot of people are involved. So there is a more cynical answer to your question, which may be there's people that don't want this exposed because they're involved. There's something called adrenochrome where they're taking children's blood and devouring it and so forth. And I've explained my experience with that, and I just did in West Africa and other places. And it's very real. They take these children, they drink it, thinking that the dark gods will bless them. These are real things.
What was it about you that made you capable of engaging in this sort of operation?
So I worked for 12 years as a special agent. I was called into the office of a supervisor, and they asked me if I would please forego everything that I wanted to do with my career and help them start a child crimes unit. One thing he did say to me was, "You're a young agent, but you're a person of faith, and we know that about you, and that's a requirement, or your soul will be crushed." And so in the end, it was successful, and we were able to build upon that success. And I founded Operation Underground Railroad, and we're doing these kind of operations all over the world today.
When you're in contact with people who are capable of that level of darkness, you start to understand something about the nature of the human soul that you can't understand any other way. And now you said also your supervisors had an inkling that you might be protected against that, at least to some degree, because of your faith. So let's walk through what you learned and encountered first. What did you see when you were working as part of this child sex crimes unit?
What I saw was so shocking, Jordan. My brain couldn't comprehend something more evil. The very first case I worked in 2002, I believe, I was so shocked. I fell to my knees. I dry heaved, thinking I was going to throw up. I absolutely deal with PTSD to this day. And I thought, I can't do this. I can't do this. I started getting help immediately, because I didn't want to quit. That's what this is.
I've worked with people who've had post-traumatic stress disorder. Tragedy is not enough to give someone post-traumatic stress disorder, even if it's rather severe. The real trauma comes as a consequence of contact with evil. And what people generally have to do in order to recover from that is to develop a rather profound philosophy of evil. And, a religious faith in its most fundamental essence is a philosophy of good and evil. It does detail out the heart of darkness among human beings. That capacity for evil lurks in the heart of everyone, and that our fundamental moral obligation as we sojourn here on earth is to overcome that proclivity within and also to stand up against it in the external world. What is it about the way you looked at the world that had to change in order for you to adapt to what you were encountering?
Well, I had to come to grips with an idea that I had never been confronted with before. There are people, and not a few, but millions of people who want to indulge in watching 5-year-old. It changes your life forever. I tell people, if I feel like I've had a million holes burned into my brain, when they start talking and I look into their eyes, that's when I sense something that really scares the hell out of me. And that's where I thought something has taken over you. Something non-human has made you less human. And I've never been able to figure it out. Only that it creeps me out. And I usually end up getting them to confess because they have brought themselves to a place where they think they're okay. They think that it's somehow normal. When we're doing operations, as you see depicted in Sound of Freedom, it's some crazy stuff. We're going into crazy places. We're talking to monsters and demons.
Why do you think you're not going to get taken out? Because it seems to me that you're in a situation where that's, of reasonable high probability given who you're dealing with. And what do you hope to accomplish over the next while? And what can people do to help?
I've turned a lot of my attention to the fact that in what I call spiritual warfare, children are targeted like never before. Your problem is you're not connecting all the dots, all the ways in which children are being hurt. Not only these missing children that are now in the belly of the largest potentially child sex market in the world, but at the same time that's happening, you have groups trying to get rid of the name pedophile and call them minor attracted persons. At the same time, you're giving them what I used to be able to arrest you for giving children. Now teachers in California and other states are giving this in the name of liberating children's sex education. And now a 13-year-old can consent to gender and have themselves injected with all sorts of chemicals that might ruin their reproductive system. And so if you got to connect all these things, the very laws that protect children and allow us to go after their captors are being and will be decaying and eroded with this crazy culture that is taking children in the name of liberating them and in fact is enslaving them.